You deserve a photo shoot every hour. It's your hour. Camera, lights, flash.
Tick, striker, pose.
Oh, swag, drippy, click, striker, pose.
Hey, Our Rangers, how are you doing? Welcome to yet another episode of Her Hour. And yes, this is the Influence series. Yet again, we are still at it. And it's been such an amazing. If you haven't seen any of our other episodes, please make sure that you go all the way back and that you like and you subscribe and you share the episodes with other people. We had some really amazing guests. And I hope you're also keeping safe. I hope you're masking up. I hope you are socially distancing yourselves, and I hope that you're also just giving yourself some time to just love yourselves. Yes, that is also very important. Self-care, what. Anyway, so I'm gonna try out some magic that I learned recently. So if I snap my fingers, I'm gonna be joined by our guests. So I'm gonna give it a try and see if it works, and we're gonna do it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Click, striker, pose.
As you can see, I am no longer alone. I am joined by some super cool people. You know how we do at Her Hour. We always get the coolest, and the mostest coolest person is obviously my lovely co-host. How you doing, Jay?
What's good? Our Rangers, what's popping? I hope you guys are good. I hope you're staying safe.
Yes, and we're joined by a really interesting, I don't know what to call him. He's a person, a very interesting, cool person. He is, I think, like one of the funniest people I know. And I'm not going to say anything more. I'm going to let him introduce himself. If you don't know him, then shim. But I'm going to let him introduce himself.
My name is King Kandoro Majoni. I'm a comedian. I go by the name King Kandoro. I honestly think that's it. Like,
it's okay. We'll plug in all the other things that you do because we know that you do a lot of things. So we'll just like insert them on the screen.
I feel like the material speaks for itself.
Right?
You don't need to say much.
Right?
you know, it's not even that. Sometimes I honestly forget. Like I will have something that I'm thinking of. Oh, I should plug this on the podcast, and then I'll realize like after while I'm editing, like I didn't even mention that at all. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I honestly forget. But to be honest, I think it's more important to know Kuti, for people to know Kuti. My name is Mukudze Kandoros.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So yes, welcome to the podcast, Our Rangers. Yes, we have an amazing guest, and yes, he is a part of the Influence series, something that we've been so excited about shooting. And we'd like to give a quick shout out to our drink sponsor.
I was like, what is she saying? Oh my God.
No, a quick shout out to our favorite drink sponsor, Kuva, made locally in Zimbabwe. They make champagnes, they make all of these fancy kind of drinks. So make sure you place an order, do the right things, and then also say that, oh my gosh, I saw your product on Her Hour, so they give us more drinks, you know? You see how this works?
Right.
I see you're drinking something, Mupudze. What are you drinking?
Water.
Okay.
Or the Russian water, which is vodka.
No.
I'm joking.
It's just water. Someone told me that water does good things for us. I was like, let me
give it a try.
It's a lie so far, but I'm going to.
Nothing good has happened in your life since you started drinking water.
I feel like it's testing my commitment, but we'll see.
Oh my God.
Gosh. I'm really excited about this episode. 3 seconds in and we're like dying. Okay, so let's get right into it. So let's get into it. Yeah, what do you understand by influence? Like, what does influence mean to you? Or what do you think influence means?
What does influence mean to me?
Yeah.
You can give us Webster's definition.
I thought we were going to start light.
This is light. I feel like that's very light.
No,
Very
because
light.
do you know, for me, I've kind of to think. What do I think of it as a comedian? What do I think of it as Mukus? Because I have different answers to both. But I think influence, the best way I can explain it is moving and shaking. You know?
Okay.
So if you have influence, if you're in that space, what you do, what you say is kind of moving things. It's kind of getting things going, or it's eliciting responses, you know. So say you have a podcast, you know, and what you say on the podcast kind of contributes to what is being spoken about or to a particular conversation. And or if you have a call to action, say on Hey Hour, you guys say, yo, go check out Kuva, and people do go check out Kuva. That's influence.
Yeah.
They better.
Yeah. that's influence. So I think, to me, the word has gotten a little confusing, because with this social media age, there's a lot of people see big numbers and they think it's influence, or they see being in the news, or, you know, being topical, or being I think it's a little bit more nuanced, like, because I can come up with names of people that yeah, I don't think this is the podcast for that. I think our podcast.
No, please feel free to say whatever you want to say. That's what I forgot to say to you. Please feel free to say whatever you want to say. This is a safe space. There is no judgment. We have spoken about a lot of people on this podcast in previous episodes. So go, feel free.
No, I was just going to say, like, on social media, you see certain things, right? Like, you see consistently people going out of their way to stay on everybody's lips. And it works to a great extent. Like, it works in the sense of they do stay on everybody's lips. But when it comes to certain things, like when they need, like, say you're an artist and you need people to download your song or to watch your song, the numbers are not they are not
matching up.
They're not matching up. So that's when I'm like, okay, so is the influence real? So is there influence? So I think influence is definitely, it means different things to different people. The people that I might be speaking about might be saying, yo, I just want, you know, that influence to influence people's subject matter on a daily, and maybe I want more substantive things. And but yeah.
Okay, Jordan.
Right. I love that you said the moving and shaking, because actually when I was in high school, my business teacher always used to say, the people who are doing the people who really want to be successful are moving with the movers and the shakers. Right. Because she was like, yeah, you have to keep moving with the movers and the shakers. If you really want to get stuff done, you have to be moving with the movers and the shakers. So I really feel that, because I do feel like you have to be on top of your game. Right. You have to be ready for anything when you're in a position of influence. And I say influence in quotes because something that we've been learning throughout this series is that influence doesn't necessarily mean people who are making money or people who are in, positions of power. Influence could be anyone. Influence could be a parent over their child, or influence could be, a pastor over their congregation. For example, Shingi Munyeza. But anyway, we already spoke on that in a previous episode, so you can check that out in a past episode. But yeah, that's what I mean. Influence is basically if people are looking to you for some sort of guidance of sorts.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with both of you. Yeah. I like that you mentioned that some people will have like the followers on their social media, and then like it just doesn't add up to like the influence they think they have. Like they'll have 10K followers and be like, oh my gosh, download my track. And then like No one does. So yeah, I think that's really true. Like you have to have some sort of a call to action that people actually respond to if you're going to be an influencer. You can't just say, I'm an influencer because you've got 5,000 followers. We can buy followers, guys, and it doesn't mean anything. Like you can open multiple accounts and then follow yourself and make it look like you have followers, and then make your alter ego accounts comment so that it looks like you have followers. But do you really have influence? You see?
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so did you always plan on being an influencer? Like, did you wake up one day and say, I want to be a comedian and a podcaster and just, a person that changes lives? Or did this just happen?
I feel like I'm being set up. I feel like I'm being...
No. You refuse the questions. Disclaimer, guys, as you're watching this. Mr. Kandoro refused. He refused to see the questions before this episode. So
there's no setup here.
There's no setup here. We are very transparent.
There is no catch-22. We can pause this right now and go over the questions with you if that's what you'd like to do.
No, I'm saying I feel like I'm being set up in the sense of I feel like whatever I say would be like, oh, he thinks that much. Like no.
Yes. You should, rightfully so. I'm sorry. No, if you're not going to toot your own horn, then who's going to toot your horn? Sorry. The bus doesn't drive itself. You have to drive the bus.
Hey,
so drive the bus.
So your question was, did I always... No, that's the honest truth. I grew up thinking I was going to be a lawyer. And then 3 years into studying law, I was like, Then I started doing comedy, and that was it. I realized I was much better at making people laugh than I probably ever was at being a lawyer. I probably would have made a decent lawyer, but for me, the thing that stood out with comedy was I wanted somewhere where I could most probably leave a mark, because I was thinking of, there's a million lawyers in the world trying to shine in that industry or trying to create something, because there's a lot of, precedent and laws and guides. You're not creating new rules like as you go. You're not making your own. And comedy felt like this place where I could, carve out my own path, set my own rules, and that's how I ended up, in this, and everything that, like, my first love is stand-up comedy.
This guy has been pretty constant, and by that I mean things are bad for everyone. I am telling you right now, and I tell you, remove broke men in your life. German! Look at the person next to you and tell them that there is a CIO amongst us. Even Jesus last day on earth, somebody was like, no. And John Mangunja speaks very fast, because he's a liar. Yo, for all my white people, I can't translate that. I really can't.
I love, I love talking and having conversations. So everything else that has come has been as a result of me trying to grow or reach out to the audience of, if it's a podcast, finding a space where I can just figure out what's funny, what's not, what's to talk about, what's in. And then the podcast grew and got its own identity, but it was really a place for me to just say nonsense. And then most of the things that have come, that I've created, they honestly start from a place of boredom, where I'm like, okay, there's a lot of, like, it's lockdown, there's a lot of free time, I have a microphone, let's create Madhorofiya FM, because I love radio and there's a lot of free time. And then the characters that I played, it's really like, okay, I want to say this, but I can't say this as Kandoro. But if I say this as a character of a pastor, the thinking is you guys, whatever you say, you're saying to this guy. It's not me, it's this guy. So even I can respond to this guy because that's not me. So let's find, because if I was coming here and saying and calling people out as a pastor, but as Kandoro, it would be like, man, sit down. You were sinning yesterday. So, or if I try to critique the police, or so that's been kind of my thinking around trying to. I didn't know any of it would lead into any kind of influence. I just wanted to say nonsense. Here we are.
And here you are, Jordan.
Like I said many times before, I don't think I'm like super influential. I'm just little old me, and so that is what it is. I don't know. I think I do enjoy being someone who is able to speak and share my thoughts and my opinions, and whoever is willing to listen will listen. So I think there is some beauty in that. I think I think, you know what, unfortunately, I do think I have influence in some way. Like I someone who has won awards for the work that I do. And this is the first time I'm saying this on this podcast. And I've been like not wanting to say it because I'm like, yo, it's a lot. But yeah, I think I do. I wanted to be someone that people could look up to, because there's not a lot of representation in Zimbabwe when it comes to like a lot of things. And, people are very quiet because people are scared to speak on certain things. People are scared to be seen as having a big mouth because of what the implications of that might be. So yeah, no, I'm still figuring out what influence is for me and how I interact with that. But yeah, we're still growing, we're still glowing, and yeah, we will keep doing what we have to do.
Yeah, I hear you. I completely understand what you meant, King, when you were saying it's easier to have like a persona that people can be angry with. I think that's literally my thing with Vera, why like the Vera brand has been my thing, and that's what I push out. So people don't need to know like what Maria feels about anything, but they can know that Vera did this, Vera is like that. Maria is innocent, guys. No one knows any of Maria's dirty laundry, so it's cool. Like, so I get it. Like, Vera can say whatever nonsense she wants to say, but the real me, the little nerd from can sit comfortably at home knowing that I'm fine. It's cool. It's okay. It's not that bad. But yeah,
I feel like maybe I should take some tips from y'all, because everyone knows me as Jordan. That's my real name. There is no alter ego. There is not. When I'm on Twitter calling people out, calling people's friends rapists, people are mad, and they're mad at Jordan. So like, yeah, no, I'm.
You need to try and make a plan.
No, I think for what you do, it's very important to do it as you. Because it's important and it's real work. If you were doing it under or behind the guise of a persona, it would kind of dilute the importance of, and it would set a dangerous precedent. And because the credibility that you are carrying as Jordan is what gives or lends, credibility to the information that you're sharing. If Comrade Dambranduwe was calling people rapists on Twitter, it would be like, yo, bro, like who are you? Let's begin there. It would just lead to like 1,000 ghost accounts, people calling each other rapists, all these other things on social media. But when it's you, people know, okay, this is a real person. So for her to come out and say this means something must have happened, or she believes this to a certain degree, and okay, we need to pay attention. So I think it's very important. But for me, it works because we are trying to. It's all being groomed or packaged as satire.
Right.
So it fits the mode we are trying to. We have inflated the truth. We haven't remixed it, but we have made it just way more ridiculous. So it fits that whoever carries this message is an equally ridiculous character. So that we are not so much focusing on me saying what it is that happened, but rather the truth that is being shared, or the overinflated or the hyperbole or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No,
Please
that's so
keep calling
true.
out.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's why, satire plays such a big role, especially in countries like Zim, where speaking the truth can oftentimes get you in a lot of trouble. So when it's like encompassed in a form of satire where you can literally say to the government, like, Shah, I didn't say anything. I didn't use your name. I wasn't talking about you. If you felt that the shoe fit, then it's on you, friend. But like, I was just doing a skit about what's happening. I think we should put one of the skits that she did for the week that I found so hilarious. It was when I think it was about the dialogue between MDC and ZANU-PF, and then like a mango was thrown over, like, mistake. And I was like, I found that episode so funny because I was like, oh my gosh, that's so like, I know that obviously when they were having their dialogue talk, it wasn't over a drill wall, but like, I was just like, that's literally what it was, where these guys like, yeah, no, let's talk. It's like, yeah, nah.
Uyataurani
andisikuda no dialogue andisikuda
uyapaduze kana sei
Chanetsa she arrested my friends and to the international mediator
uyatitaura uyapaduze
ndozvataura
aiwa imistake munango
imani wamchinje vanhu
aiwa izvi achaite
andisikuda dialogue
uyapaduze
muda chimba taura nechii
izvozvi
mango iwe ndio dialogue ndio dialogue
aiwa idialogue kana yadona madona iyi yadona 45 degrees 45 degrees mango yadona mabhuru mango in your dispensation.
We don't trust you guys. We know how you roll. We know this thing is it's all just for laughs, for giggles and whatever. It's not really like you want to make any actual change. And,
I'd actually forgotten. That was pretty brilliant.
It was. It really was. I have to admit.
I actually had forgotten about it. Good times.
I could mention multiple other clips, but I would just tell people just go back on the week episodes and look for King Kandoro. There's so many hilarious clips that you wrote some of them, right? And acted in some of them.
I wrote all of them.
You see, yeah. So
shut up.
Fantastic.
That's
fantastic. So hilarious. But like just going back to what you said about, having comrades, whatever his name is, speaking up about rape, just made me think of was a perfect segue to the next question I wanted to ask is, do you think that people in positions of power or influence owe it to their communities, owe it to the world to speak up on social issues? We've said that Jordan, because, it works well with her brand and everything, that it makes sense that, she says the things that she says as who she is. But do we think that it's something that should be applied to everyone? Should we be expecting a slay queen who's just known for hair and makeup to speak up on social issues? Or is it one of those things like Asha? She can talk about whatever she wants to talk about. She don't know it's nothing but makeup pictures.
I don't think there's anyone who owes anyone anything.
Okay, full stop. Period.
I think it's important that people speak out. Everyone should speak out about. But I think when we go into and to be honest, that's kind of the mood that is on social media and where people are like, yo, why is so and so not, because they don't care. And it's okay that they don't care because their reality doesn't match your reality. If I'm eating eggs and bacon every day, what do I care that there's no some of your reality is not I don't see that. I used to think like that until I realized that there's people that have not been or not even seen Joiner City in 5 years. That there's people that only use Robert Mugabe on their way to the airport. They don't go beyond Borodo Brook and Churchill. that's their demarc. They don't go beyond that line. So if you're somebody who lives that life up north, like, why should you be speaking about social issues? You don't know that life.
Right.
So it's kind of unrealistic to ask someone to speak about what they do. But it's very important, though. It's very important to create a society where people feel the need to say, okay, regardless of my circumstances, it's important for me to charter a course, because these lines, these realities that we live, like regardless of how different things are, that I live in Mabuku, I live in Warren Park, and then somebody else lives in, they don't have anything to do with somebody speaking about rape or sexual harassment or not. But if we create an environment where we say, we target people and say, no, Vera should speak out, let Vera, because socialization and conscientization, it's a gradual process, right? We don't get to that point all at the same time.
Right.
It's like right now, there's still people that argue about, like, there was a song where Weliten said, Ramvana, right? And people were making noise and they were fighting. And then there's a whole section of Twitter saying, but what's wrong though? What's wrong with that? Mvana is Mvana. And you're like, you are lost, right? But when you follow that train, the consistent thread that you see when somebody says that, like, this person honestly is lost, right? But you're not going to win them over to your side by telling them, yo, you're dumb. That shit is like, you like, that's not going to work. because in their stubbornness, they honestly believe they are correct.
Yeah.
Because the information that they've had up to this point, it tells them that it's okay for them to say this.
I'm only 22, please.
So if you come and tell them, like, oh, according to blah, 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 it's like, so even on the podcast, we did this thing where we tried to walk people through the word, the connotations, all these things. And I had a few people afterwards being like, okay, I see what you meant, because we were looking at it this way, ABCD. I think things like that, they contribute to a community and a society where people get on the same page easy. And I think more than anything, what's more important than being on the same page is creating a space where we disagree respectfully. And we make each other see that, okay, this is where I'm coming from, this is where I'm coming from. And it creates a space where people will speak out about, you can speak out about the wrong things. You can make a completely nonsensical thread, but it's important for you to make that thread so that we can correct each other. That's what I think.
Okay. Interesting. Jordan, what do you think?
I feel that. I think just going back to the top of what you said, I think that you said that people don't owe anyone anything. And I completely agree with that. Like I feel that, but I think that a lot of people who might listen to this or hear or see us speaking about this might think that, like, we put these people in the positions that they find themselves in, So at the end of the day, what do you mean? Like, people might be like, what do you mean people don't owe anything to anything? Because at the end of the day, when it's now time for you to come and pander to us with your, like, for example, the example Vera used of a slay queen who sells makeup and sells a weave, at the end of the day, she's going to come and pander to us on her social media and say, buy my, 24 inches, buy my lipstick, buy my what. And then when it's time for, Zimbabwean Lives Matter, the same slay queen is quiet. She's not hashtagging. She's not on the TL making any noise. She's not saying anything at all. But the moment it's time for weave, the moment it's time for eyelashes, she's the first one making the most noise. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I don't know. I think there's a bit of a toss-up between it being when is the right time to speak, or is there such a thing as in one of the previous episodes, Vera said that like you can speak, but it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. It just has to show like a stance of solidarity. You know, once it's like just a word, just a hashtag, just a, you know. So I don't know. I think it's you're right in saying you don't owe anyone anything, but at the same time, those people don't owe you anything when you're coming in pandering with your weave and your earrings and your lashes. Like, so.
Yes.
Right. So I 100% agree with you, because those points are, it's literally what I was saying, that's where you catch them. So no one owes anyone anything, right? But the people that feel snubbed don't remember that you've been snubbed. So it's like this. If you say there is a person who's selling their wares on social media and they rely on their social media audience, but when the time comes, or even an artist who's sharing their music and asking people to download, and they have this audience, but when it comes time to say, oh, please come through for us, the next time that they share their, it's a situation that self-corrects.
Yeah.
Because the only reason why why it was important for me to say no one owes anyone. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. Right. So if you prove to us that you don't owe us anything, it's like, okay, we didn't know. Thank you for letting us know. Now we know. The next time that you now come and say, oh guys, I'm trying to what up now? Wait. So it's it's a symbiotic relationship where we are now we are catching up. Okay, we needed you at some point. Now you need us. Do you see how this works? But also in terms of speaking up, I think you find that if we ask people to speak out, if it's in terms of tweets, or if it's in terms of, some people speak out in incredible ways that are not even visible. Right. Like there are people that I know that have never said a word on Twitter, but are doing incredible things for their communities, like providing spaces, like during this COVID, providing spaces where children feel safe, providing food for families, I think what's problematic is it's not necessarily that we have to ask everybody to speak. It's kind of like asking Winky D to speak. Winky D doesn't even speak about his own awards, So asking somebody to say, oh, why are you quiet during this time? It's kind of like, what we need to focus on is people that have been loud throughout, then suddenly go quiet during the times when, so it's like, okay.
I feel that.
It's like if I've been on Twitter every day asking people to buy so and so or watch ABCD, then when it's Zimbabwean Lives Matter, I'm silent. It's like, but when it's somebody that's not really on social media like that, or they don't use that to communicate, or they use other means, it's like, okay, we know you fulfill that role somewhere. So I think we need to make sure that we are not asking, because certain people work differently, certain people thrive in other spaces differently.
No, that's definitely true. I completely agree with you. And I think everyone who has watched this series, I have said this from day one, and I will continue to say this. Fam, the minute you are in a position of influence, I personally, I don't care about what everyone else thinks. I personally expect you to say something when it's a big issue, when it's Zimbabwean Lives Matter, when it's Women's Lives Matters, when it's #Save the Babies. I expect you to say something because it affects everyone. And I think people need to realize that we live in a community. You're not an island. Yes, you may be famous. Yes, you may have $1 million in your bank account, and 90% of Zimbabweans don't have that money in their bank account. But at the end of the day, we are in the same economy. I hate to say this, but I might get, I don't know, dragged for saying this, but one thing that I noticed about COVID is it made people realize that, like we are all, our anatomy is the same. We had people who are rich out here calling the president, oh, we can't get access to the internet, but they still died of COVID because we're all the same essentially. But if these people had spoken out and said that, nah, Zim's health system needs to be fixed, maybe things would have been better. I know, like I said, I might be dragged for this, but I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there to just say that I think it's really important that you can't pick and choose when things need to work out for you. Like if it's got to do with the economy, if it's got to do with the betterment of life for everyone, you can't pick and choose when that appeals to you because it's not about that and it can't be like that. If you want to consider yourself a human being with feelings, you can't function that way. Right. Just my 2 cents. I feel like I might be dragged for this, but it's okay, guys. It's fine.
Too bad.
I said it, not Maria.
It's too bad.
But like just on this whole thing, I just wanted to ask, like you were talking about how it's like a system where if you are an influencer or whatever, if you're selling something and you expect, you go out there, you tweet, guys, I'm selling weaves. And then, people will be like, okay, we're going to buy your weaves. And then you're like, and then Zim Lives Matter happens. And then you're like, well, I don't know about this one. And then people are like, but like, we expect you to know about this thing. Do you think that sometimes it's because people are out of touch with like what's going on? Do you think like influencers, people in positions of power are really out of touch with the reality that's on the ground? That's why they probably don't say anything or they say the wrong thing. I think there've been so many. I was watching, what's her name? This chick from America, her name is Tommy Lauren. Whew, yeah, it was a lot.
Tommy Lauren, yes.
Tommy Lauren, yes. And like, I don't know if it's stupidity or her just being out of touch with reality, but that child needs prayer. So basically, like, she was calling the Black Lives Matter movement, like, she's like, oh no, it's only about looters. And, I have no respect for it because you have people who like hold signs saying like, the police must die, blah, 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 fry them like bacon. So the movement is like all tarnished. And so she was in an interview with Trevor Noah, and Trevor Noah was like, but you can't disregard the whole movement because of a few bad apples. That literally doesn't make any sense. I'm convinced that, Black Lives Matter is a rubbish movement because people got violent at some point and, racism isn't a thing. She doesn't understand why Black people are so angry and things like that. So do you think it's Kuti, she's out of touch, or like in the brain, things just aren't balancing?
No. So it's just plain old intellectual dishonesty. Tommy Lauren is a very incredibly smart person. It's the same way Donald Trump is an incredibly smart person, but it's using that. It's just intellectual dishonesty when you know your position and you double down on it so much that you believe like it's there. If you look at just prior to the reason why she was on the Trevor Noah show is because she gets incredible numbers, way more than Trevor Noah numbers. And the way she has an audience which she's communicating to on a daily basis, and there's a group of people that were doing that. Candace Owens was doing that, the whole Fox News, it's not that they don't know any better. But those are the talking points. They know the effects of speaking that way. We saw the effects of them speaking that way, right? Resulted into that's what they want, because they know if you take a little fact, right? Just small truth, like there's people that are Black Lives Matter, people that are looting, right? If we make that loud enough, it makes it look like the whole of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Do you think the people in that Make America are interested in the other side? They're interested in balanced facts?
No.
They are not. So you have, and that is the danger of people having an audience, right? That is the danger of giving any and everyone an audience. So when we ask influencers and we ask people to say like, oh, speak on Zim Lives Matter, I have a real tangible example of 2 times that happened in Zimbabwe, and it led to disastrous results. It led to instances where somebody shared a very uninformed perspective on what was happening on the ground, it's not so much that they didn't know better, but the set of information that they had was intentionally limited.
Yeah.
It's intentionally limited to a very specific point. So when we but because they have an audience, right? If Sarah from Mavuku had shared that, would anyone have heard that?
No.
No, it would have been just another opinion that people would be like, but because this is somebody that is considered influential, they have and the most disastrous thing about that now is we are now going to spend the next 2 days cussing each other over what was said, what shouldn't have been said, why it was said, and we've distracted ourselves from the real important conversation that's been going on. So
right.
There's a lot of intentional misinformation that happens. Some people, like you said, some people are just out of touch, which is okay, because there are other things that are in touch. You know, I think the most important thing for us in the social media age is people knowing their limitations, right? And saying, okay, I will participate in this Zim Lives Matter conversation, but I will be a retweeter. I will retweet all the important, necessary information, right? Because I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough to contribute.
Yeah.
I would teach myself what's being said, why people are mad, why people. But I think where we get it wrong by asking everybody, like, yo, man, speak up. It's like, guys, if I speak up, I will derail this movement. Let me retweet. Let me repost. Let me reshare. That's
right.
Yeah.
I feel you. I completely. I think the term for what you're talking about is it's outrage politics, where basically, and it's something that is, it's like a media strategy actually, and it's something that a lot of people use because they know that the moment you cause outrage is the moment people are going to click on it. It's like clickbait of sorts. Yeah. So it happens with, these WhatsApp things. People send links into a WhatsApp group to our mothers saying, oh, coronavirus causes your eyes to fall out. And then your mother goes and clicks on that thing and now it becomes a big story. And that website where people are clicking on are now making money from clickbait. You know what I'm saying? So it's the exact same concept, I think, where people may pretend to be out of touch, but they know what they're doing. They know that they have to peddle this idea of like, oh, I'm so out of touch, so that people can get mad at me. And then the people who agree with me will come and follow me and they will come and click on. Like recently, Floyd Mayweather bought his child, his what is it? His grandchild. What is it when it's your child's? Yeah, his grandchild. He bought his grandchild a Rolex. He literally bought his grandchild a Rolex, and people were like, "Are you kidding me? In the middle of a pandemic, you're flossing that you like bought your child a Rolex when people are dying." There's literally people dying. But this is the same Mayweather who moves around with $1 million or $100,000 at all times. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, this is someone who knows his fans. He knows his fan base. He knows that when he like comes and posts on social media that, yeah, I just bought my kid a Rolex, people are going to be like, they might be the outraged people, but the people who are down with that lifestyle, like the flossing lifestyle, are going to be like, yes, we support you, but do whatever you want with your money. Do whatever you want with your money, Twitter. We have the same 24 hours Twitter, those are going to be the people that are going to follow him. So I completely agree with you. I think people know how to use the media to push their agendas. People know that in the world that we live in, no one is paying attention to your sincere 9-tweet thread about, whatever you're talking about. They want action. They want drama. They want you to put it in their faces. So I agree with you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know, like just us talking about this now just makes me think about, I think it was a conversation we had with Patience PD. If you guys haven't watched the episode, go back and watch it. But I think it was her who had mentioned that these guys are just sharing what's true to their reality. And I think King Kandoro also mentioned the same thing again in this episode, is that, you're sharing from your experience. If I have lived a Kylie Jenner life of, being given like $1 million loan by my mom to start a business, if all I know is balling out and living a great life, then can I really be accused of being ignorant of a situation if like that's not true to my reality? So, but I think that, again, on the other hand, yes, you are also responsibility. I think the minute you become an adult or a person who can read and write and watch videos on YouTube, you can educate yourself on situations. I think there's no excuse to say that, oh, well, I wasn't informed about this, like whatever. You can ask people. You can talk to people. You know what? I saw this movement going on social media. I wanted to make my, put my 2 cents, but I'm going to research on it. I remember even with the NSARS thing, I had no idea what the hell that was about. And I looked it up first before I joined the hashtag. Same thing with the time when, people were putting the French flag over their social media handles and whatever. I made it my mission to find out what it was about before I just jumped on the bandwagon. And I think as an adult, as a person who's, who's fairly competent in reading and writing and like researching and having conversations with people, I think you are responsible for what you put out there. I think you are responsible for educating yourself on certain things that are going on. And I think when you're dragged for it, you can't now come back, oh, well, people hate me. And nah, sweetie, like you put yourself out there and you knew what was going to happen. Like, you kind of also are fully aware of the repercussions of your actions. And I think it's very important for people in positions of influence to kind of acknowledge that. But given all of that, like we've seen people who will tweet something or say something today. For example, what I said earlier in the episode, and then maybe like in 3 years' time, someone's going to watch and be like, oh my gosh, Vera was so insensitive. We need to cancel her. And then the next thing, I'm canceled. Like, do you think cancel culture is a thing? Do you think it exists? Nah, no.
No, so the we spoke about this in a podcast recently, and the thing about cancel culture is I don't know why people are behaving like cancel culture is not new. It's not a new thing. Since time immemorial in primitive cultures in Mutapa state, people were getting canceled. Like if you stole, if you raped, if you would get banned from the village. People would throw you out. That was their version of cancel culture. The thing now with this social media cancel culture is that people are trying to remix it and make it vindictive, right? Where somebody gets a set of there's ways that society self-corrects.
Yes.
Society always self-corrects. Like society, apart from laws, we have sets of rules. If Jordan does something abhorrent, if Jordan does something that we don't agree with, we have ways to treat Jordan to show her, or me, to show her that we are not with you anymore. Like even in a household, right? When a child misbehaves, they are treated in such a way that shows them. Is that cancel culture? Cancel culture, there should be a remedy, right? There should be a remedy to the behavior to say, we are treating you this way so that this happens.
Yes.
We are not like, no one just gets thrown out. Like if a kid, let's say a kid breaks a TV, like I'm trying to bring it down to the household level so that we grow out the analogy, right? Yeah. If a kid, or if a kid, let's say, steals a car, gets into an accident, and causes this whole fracas, what's the treatment there? Are we canceling a child? Are we going to punish him in such a way that shows him that no, this was wrong because A, B, C, D. This should never happen because what happens now is, as society, we are creating a culture where these people that have been canceled, for whatever reasons, some for totally terrible things, some for not necessarily terrible things that are now just being bundled together. We are creating a society of outcasts that in the end are going to be way more than the original society, right? So I remember seeing this when I remember. Do you know the danger in that is? I remember seeing this when Donald Trump the election. There's people that have bundled what Donald Trump did and try to bundle it together with people that have been canceled for things like, maybe let's say somebody who misspoke about, the LGBTQI community, right? Like, how can we, like, if somebody misspoke because they're ignorant, that same person, they're ignorant, they don't have the information. They're going to say something. You cannot bundle that same person as a rapist.
True.
Like those people are not in the same group. There might be a lead, a cause and effect, but at this point, this person just needs new information to say, yo, that's wrong and that's misinformed because A, B, C, D. If that person now chooses to continue down that path, when they have this new information, now let's take different steps. But we can't now say, because that person, when we bundle those people together, that's how you end up with people that defend R. Kelly. Yeah. Because they feel like, oh, you guys are just calling us all together. You're just saying we're bad apples. There's people that try to explain Donald Trump and say, us deplorables or people that are just, I'm like, bruh, this man is a sexual, like how is Donald, like there's people that were saying, I hope Donald Trump wins. I reached out to a guy, I was like, because I was confused. I was like, what do you mean? You are an African man in Zimbabwe. What do you mean you hope Donald Trump wins? And he was like, no, his policies, I was like, okay, so you are willing to look past the fact that there is a lot of evidence that shows that this man is racist. There's a lot of evidence that shows this man is a sexual harasser.
Yep.
There's a lot of evidence that shows that this man has been in cahoots and friends with people that have been in jail, imprisoned for rape and all. They are willing to look past that and say his policies. And the root cause of that conversation is because this guy it's kind of like, I don't know what his experiences are, but he's been bundled towards these people that are like, they're in the, like, I think it's because he shared something about abortion or something like he's, I don't know, I get confused by the actual terms, but I think he's against abortion.
Yeah.
So it's like,
pro-life.
I was like, he was like, because Trump is pro. I was like, that's where you are meeting this man.
The 1 point.
The 1 point. So my point is to say you end up with people that are trying to join these two together because they are confused about what cancel culture is about.
Yeah.
Right? In this day and age, it's become about, like, say, if I wake up and decide I don't like Jordan, right? And I find I don't like Vera. Like, let me use your example and say, because she said something insensitive about so-and-so, I want to cancel her. I should cancel you. I shouldn't try to convince other people to cancel you. If other people cancel you, let it be on their own merit of saying, I find her deplorable because A, B, C, D. I shouldn't go on a campaign to say, oh, why are we tolerating Vera because she said this? But when there's a distinction though, when things like, when somebody is a convicted rapist, when things like that's not up for debate, that's not up for conversation, But the way that we do it, the way that I think it's doubling down on people trying to put words into people's mouth, trying to enforce. We said this earlier, like, let people come to their own conscientization at their own time. Give them the information, let them decide. Let's not like, you still come across people saying, man, I still play R. Kelly though, right? And it's like, I don't think this person, like, I don't think you are doing that to intentionally hate anyone. But let me give you this new set of information and let me not see if you don't rethink You know, if I come to you and tell you like, yo, bro, do you know that if by continuing to stream R. Kelly, you're contributing to his revenue stream, which means you will be able to pay lawyers, which means he won't stay in jail, right? If you still feel like playing R. Kelly after that, you're an asshole. Like if you didn't have that set of information, you're just misinformed.
Yeah.
You know, so things like that. I don't think if you come to somebody like that and we just go straight into you're an apologist though, you're a rap apologist. I don't think that achieves, because they're just going to go defensive. Like, no, why are you saying that? And now you blocked each other. No conversations have happened. You know,
right?
So
right.
It's a tough one, but that's what I think about cancel culture.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've been saying this for a long time, even on my own Twitter, that cancel culture does not exist, guys. It's not a real thing. It's something that we've made up in our heads for a concept, like you said, that has existed for so long. Let me tell you, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like it doesn't exist because, like you said, there's going to be someone who's going to still stream R. Kelly's music and he's still going to make his money and he's still going to have his fans. Like Donald Trump, for example, we as liberals or whatever, anything that's not a Republican or whatever, or conservative, can cancel Donald Trump, but as long as he is like 5 million or whatever, 100 million strong with his followers and supporters, he's not canceled. He's just canceled for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't cancel someone. That's like impossible. You can't just cancel a person. No. That's not how things work. You know? So I don't know. I think people like to just come up with these phrases. Apparently, actually, this whole cancel culture thing is just like created by Republicans to create more outrage and be like, oh my gosh, the liberals are at it again. Oh, what? Like, so I don't know. I don't think it exists. I think it's trash. It's trash on fire.
It's almost like taking the easy way out of sorts. Like if you say we're canceling anyone, you are almost saying, oh, we don't want the responsibility of educating this person or of making sure that this person thinks differently, of which that's what a society should be about.
Yeah.
You know, if we are interested about being together, there are those of us that are going to have, you know, all the information. There are those of us that are going to catch up late. There are those of us that are going to catch, you know, create trends. So if you are like, at some point, because I had minimal information, I was homophobic. Why? Because the society that I grew up in was homophobic.
I'm joking.
Right? Right? So, but I got new information, right? I got new information. I got new experiences. I started seeing different things. And then the more information you get, it's like, man, I really didn't know. Right? But if now, because I know better, right? I can't go back to that same society and be like, man, y'all a bunch of homophobes. Because I think more than anything, homophobia or most of these phobias are, one, it's an intentional choice. Like somebody decides to be that. Yeah. No one wakes up, like you don't wake up a homophobe. Right? You don't wake up a homo. It's like no one wakes up a racist.
Yeah.
Like babies don't wake up and be like, what's that, black? Like they have to be socialized into being that. So the same way they were socialized into that, they can unlearn and be so. But the kind of unlearning that we're trying to do, we're trying to shock people out of their homo. Like let's just present the same way that you came to know about ABCD. Just present it that same information. Like I ask someone this. I actually asked someone this. Like, would you say, like a 50-year-old Zimbabwean parent would you like? There's been conversations about like, would you say our parents are homophobic or they're just ignorant?
Yes,
Ignorance.
I agree with that.
Ignorance.
I think it's ignorance.
Right?
It's actually, I always say this, actually, I think that it's a lot of the time, it's them just wanting to do their best by the things that they grew up knowing. Like, they just want to do their best.
They don't know anything else. Right? I think now when that person is, like I said before, when that person is presented with this information, like, yo, this is what's happening, and they still decide to go on that path, that's when we can have different conversation and start labeling people and saying, oh, you are a homophobe, right? You should know better because you have all the information. I think it's very dangerous to go around and throwing this, because somebody will just say, okay, I'm a homophobe. So what you gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so yeah, cancel culture is a sticky one. I think people are just trying to run away from responsibility of taking care of one another, running away from the core concept of Ubuntu. You know?
Yes.
So we need to do better. We definitely need to do better.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think it's like I've said in like all the other episodes, is that my biggest issue with cancel culture is that, yes, it's vindictive. It's a personal vendetta against, King Kandoro said that he was homophobic. Then the next thing you know, now it's a whole thing. Vera's, hey, cancel King Kandoro. Guys, it's a statement that you maybe made like 20 years ago when you were uninformed, when you were ignorant. But now, like I always say that I think my biggest issue with cancel culture is that people look for something that someone said 8-10 years ago, and then they want to hold you by that crime today. It's like prison. If I get arrested today for doing something bad and I get released, and then I get arrested again because they're like, no, but 5 years ago you stole something, so we need to arrest you again. Like, it doesn't work that way. You go to jail to be rehabilitated, and then you're given a second chance when you get back into the community. So I think the same thing needs to happen with cancel culture. And we also need to look at the context, like exactly what you're saying, is I'm looking at the context. Was like, I remember there was a time when people were so upset with Justin Bieber because he made like some racist jokes. Yes, I get it that they could have been offensive to some people, but I'm just like, guys, he was what, 12? Like, I don't understand why we're angry at Justin Bieber for like something he did when he was a kid.
In the brief clip, Justin Bieber can be heard telling a joke, and the punchline is a racial insult.
Father's Day. That's just mean. That's just straight. Why are black people afraid of chainsaws? Don't even say it. Don't say it.
You can say motorcycle too.
The Sun on Sunday newspaper claims the Canadian musician's representatives tried to keep the video hidden for a huge sum of money.
When we were teenagers, we all said stupid stuff when we were young. Let's not pretend as if we were perfect children, even past as kids, whatever, the holy of holies. We have all done some nasty stuff as children. So we can't be, held accountable. Like, I don't think we should be punished for things.
Please speak for yourself.
We know better.
I'm an angel. I'm playing.
Should I open my Jordan receipt book?
No, don't do that.
I think it's definitely true. I think there has to be a way to, regularize canceling people, or just finding like a system that kind of works, like where it can't just be one person's opinion and then, like it's so wild, guys. Cancel culture is like the Wild West, where someone will just wake up feeling some type of way and then they get everyone angry enough, because we're living in a very angry world. We're living in a world with people who are unemployed, who also don't have anything better to do with their lives, but scroll on Twitter and wait for some fight to start. Like, I remember people always like Twitter streets, people are like just ready to attack you for no apparent reason. So I think with that kind of, environment that we have, with that kind of context that we have, and then you now just have cancel culture just running wild with no regulation, no control, guys. Like, at the end of the day, everyone is going to be on the canceled side, like he said, and there'll be very few people on the non-canceled side, and it won't even make sense anymore.
I think society just will self-correct in a way. Like, we'll grow old, our priorities will be different, we'll retire, and these kids these days, they don't care about anything. They watch KTV, K-pop, They don't care about like the kids that are coming up on social media, the 18-year-olds. They don't care, man. Like we Justin Bieber will grow old. Justin Timberlake will our stars will start dying.
Yeah.
New kids will take over social media, and if they still have social cancel culture, man, that's a problem. But I think for us, like it will die out. It hasn't achieved anything so far.
I hear you.
There's no reason for anyone to like. There's not a single thing that cancel culture. If there was a chairman, there's not a single thing that they've achieved. Not a single thing. Donald Trump got 70 million votes.
You what?
70 million votes. So you it's like it's that old saying of keep doing the same thing expecting different results.
Yeah.
Like, so there's no real reason, to keep doing this. There were a few days ago, and do you know the troubling thing? A few weeks ago, there were these allegations about T.I. and Tiny, right? The way those allegations were spread and happened and confessions were coming, I honestly thought T.I. would be in jail by now.
Yeah.
Right? So the way that happens, it makes you think now, okay, so what are we doing wrong? Because there must be some truth in that if a lot of people are coming towards. But is this the best way to go about it? Right? Because it's almost as if the people that are being accused are using that against the people that are accusing them. It's saying, yo, look, these people are just trying to smear my name. Look, these people are just trying to because of the way it happens, because people are doing this in an almost that vindictive way of almost like, it's like, okay, all these people, if this has been organized, let's go to the nearest police station, right? Because at this point, it's over 30 people that are coming. Right. I was actually thinking about it today and saying, but what happened to that? We haven't heard anything, and that is very worrying.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the time that is passed in between those allegations, that's when the doubters and the naysayers start gaining confidence. Right? They start saying, you see now, those people just want to tear down a strong black man. Those people just want to tear down a pillar of society. The next person now that's going to have a real grievance towards that won't be able to speak out because they've seen what happens when they speak out. Nothing happens. So it's at some point society will realize, like, okay, there's better ways to do this.
Yeah.
Rather than me making a thread or trying to get people, let me go and find, something that can actually lead to, because, and look at how, like right now, as despicable as those confessions were, no one is talking about them now. We are concerned about the next TikTok challenge. The next day, people, imagine bearing your soul on Instagram, like, oh, this is the worst experience of my life. And well, the page that shares them gets their clicks, and they get, like, they probably have 500,000 more followers now. And they're probably sharing the next like, that's it. That's it. It's done. But you are left feeling, exposed because you've shared this incredibly personal experience of your life, and yet nothing has happened. So it's very, it's very terrible.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I think hopefully society will fix itself up, but I don't know. I've met some pretty woke youthies, so I don't know, but we just hope for the best. Yeah. We hope that people won't be as angry going forward, and definitely cancel culture. Yeah, something must happen there. Hopefully something must happen soon. But yeah, like you said, people are gonna disappear. Our superstars are no longer going to be superstars at some point. They're going to be new people coming up and, new opinions and stuff like that. So I guess we just wait and see and hope for the best. But yeah, so we've gotten to that point of the conversation where, we're just going to ask you, like, if you want to share anything, there's things that we know you're doing. So if you want to plug in any of the work that you're doing, anything that you're working on, anything that you want people to know about, Jordan and I will give you your 15 seconds of fame. I'm joking. We'll give you your time to just let the people know some of the amazing stuff that you're doing.
You know, unfortunately, some of the stuff that I'm working on right now, I can't speak on it yet. That's the unfortunate. I would love to, but hopefully in a month or two, you know, we'll be able. But there's a last year I worked on a baby. It's here now. Did that amazing. There's a lot of satirical content in the works.
I'm gonna need to also go work on a baby. So if you're watching this and you want to work on a baby with me,
go halvesies.
I'm playing. I'm just joking.
But yeah, so it's a lot of exciting stuff. You know, the podcast is still going. I'm trying to think, is there something that I can actually... There's a documentary that I'm working on about life in the diaspora, like in the sense of I've been here. It's going to be a year in March, and like when I got here, the most immediate thing that I noticed was how lonely life here is for Zimbabwean or for me. And I found that to be, you know, through the conversations that I was having, to be a very common theme, because life here is very individualistic. You know, it's primed towards productivity, where you come here, you go to work and you work and you work and you work and you get your money and you send it back home and you start building things. You know, it's not like things here are it's not friendly from the weather, from anything. But the thing with that is no one back home knows that. I found that even the conversation that I was participating before becoming part of the diaspora community, we would have these conversations where we are saying, yo, man, if I was in the diaspora, I would be doing A, B, C, D. Because the assumption is life here is easy.
Yeah.
Like before you come here, you know, you're thinking life here is easy and people have credit cards that they can just walk into a dealership and buy a Mac, or people assume that life here is hard, right? And all that. There is no in between. So it's either you think life is hard or you think life is easy. What is the middle point? That's what I started realizing, because people here have had experiences where somebody from back home will ask for money and they will say, no, it's really a tough month for me. And somebody back home will be like, so why are you in the diaspora? You know? So, you know, so I thought, you know what? I think it would be a great way to contribute to the conversation if we had a definitive resource that actually showed what life here is like. Like, because so far, there hasn't, and it was shocking for me to realize that there hasn't been that, like something that shows that people here are working 4 or 5 jobs, right? And sometimes people come here at 21 and they start sending money back home, but because they're always sending money back home, somebody thinks they have a high-paying job, or it's automatic, or it's... So things like mental health of the person here is not really put into question. Like, how do people relate? Everybody here stays an hour away from each other. Doesn't matter where you are. It's at least an hour away. So there's no sense of community whereby you, Jordan, can end up at Moto on any good day, COVID willing. You can end up at Moto. Hi, Vera, what's good? What's happening?
Yeah.
There is no such thing here, right? Like you have to say, oh, what are we doing in March? You know, things like that, simple things like that, where I would love for it to be a resource where people get to see the other side and have to have those conversations from a nuanced point to be like, okay, when we see these people coming to Zim in December, it's real. They go crazy because they don't know that life. Yeah. Right? You are the minority in every sense of the word. Like you are the minority as a black person, you are the minority as a Zimbabwean. You know, so you're not going to a club where they are playing Zim dancehall, right? Unless it's a specific club. You're going to a club where they're playing their things and you have to fit into that culture. You in the workspace you're having. So I'm trying to create something that kind of like shows that life and then just see where the conversation goes. That's one of the things that I'm working on, but it's been slowed down because of COVID.
Right. That is so interesting.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think everybody make sure that you follow King Kandoro so you can check out like whenever this will be out. I think it will really be something very interesting to check out because I think if you are, as long as you're a Zimbabwean, this is specifically to our Zimbabwean fans.
Yeah.
If you are Zimbabwean, you have at least one relative, who's in the diaspora. So I think it'll be really great to kind of just get a different perspective on the kind of life that, you know, your relative might just be living, or you might actually be a Zimbabwean yourself who's out there in the diaspora and you're like, man, this is the story of my life. So I think that would really be such a great thing to check out. So we're really getting close to the end of our conversation. Do you have any bits of advice? As her hour, we don't like to just complain for a full hour and then leave it at that and be like, well, it is what it is, bye. But we like to kind of conclude all of our conversations. So I think going forward, there's so many, I know for a fact, there's so many young comedians, podcasters, you know, aspiring filmmakers, whatever, influencers that follow you and that probably need some good nuggets on how to be a good, I don't know if it's a thing to be a good social influencer, just do you have any tips for people? You know, you're standing in a stadium with 5,000 aspiring influencers. What would you say to them? How would you guide them on this journey of influence?
I think the first thing would obviously be don't aspire to influence. I think it's very important it's like somebody waking up and saying like my dream job would be to be a hero. Like why a hero? Like, you know, it's a very problematic. It's like somebody earlier on, somebody said to me, we were having a conversation about legacy, and they were like, you know what, somebody saying they want to have a legacy is actually because that's how villains are created. You know? That's how people, when you're so focused on creating a legacy, people do the absolute most to protect their idea of that legacy, right? So that's how people end up killing people that don't fit their idea of legacy. That's how people don't end up. So rather than focusing on legacy, focus on the work, right? So if you're a creative, make sure that what you're doing, especially if you're a Zimbabwean who's doing this, there is very little praise for what you do. You rarely get any credit. People will steal your ideas, people will steal your work. But if you're passionate enough, let that not stop you. Continue doing, because for me, the satisfaction honestly comes from the little things. Like from time to time, I will have somebody come in the DMs and be like, yo, man, what you said about ABCD, that was really dope. Or I watched your show and it really made me happy when you spoke about this. Like I've had people that explain my jokes to me, you know, and I'm like, that's incredible, man. that's really incredible, because that shows to me that it resonated to you on a different level. Like, and that shows me that you're excited about whatever you watch, because people have broken down my joke. Like when you say this, it meant, and it was tied to, I was like, yeah.
That's what I was going for.
and sometimes it's not. And I'm like, it's really incredible that these people. So those, I find joys in those little things. But if you are good at it, if you continue at it, the money will come. It's not guaranteed, but at some point, the belief is it will come. It will come. So that's what I don't aspire to influence anyone. Just end up being a villain. That's how people end up being Shaddai, because they want to, they want to inspire people, and yeah.
Okay. Wow, such beautiful words of wisdom, guys. So don't aspire to be a hero, because you'll just end up a villain. I think that should be the tagline for this specific episode. We'll just say, King Kandoro says, that'll be our clickbait. So people are like,
Don't
what?
Don't do it. Right.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I think you shared so much. I think everyone, all the Hour Rangers who are watching, I'm sure they really enjoyed this episode. And guys, if you haven't seen some of the stuff that King Kandoro has done, obviously we'll put it in the comment section. But he is amazing. He had he's just done so much, like in terms of satire, in terms of comedy. He's got a podcast, and now with Madhorofiya FM. Like, there's just so much that he's working on that's really inspiring for content creators in general in Zimbabwe. And I think if you check out a lot of his stuff, it's really gonna inspire you. I think a lot of the times as content creators, as young people, we just think, oh my gosh, this stuff can't work. I'm just wasting my time. But like, it will work. We have success stories, as you can see. He is a success story.
I work hard.
And like,
as you should.
I had to work. But yeah, so thank you.
A mover and a shaker. Okay,
yes,
as you
he
say.
is a mover and a shaker. Yes. So thank you so much for coming on the episode. Thank you for sharing all of your thoughts and your ideologies. I'm sure one day there will be students in a UZ theater studying some of your many works and writing dissertations on it. This
Case
is
studies.
your life. Accept, receive.
No, I do. I receive all of it.
She's like, by force, if you don't receive, we're going to stop the episode.
We'll force it on you. So yes, his socials are going to come up on the screen. So make sure you follow him, follow all of the stuff he's doing. And obviously Jordan and my socials are going to be on the screen somewhere on the screen. Make sure that you follow us. In fact, just follow us. Just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it. Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. And also make sure that you watch the rest of the series. We still have a few more really interesting guests lined up. And before I forget, thank you again to Kuva for being our lovely drink sponsor. We really appreciate it. The rest of my afternoon is going to be very litty committee. Thank you very much. And yeah, so please tell us about your comments in the comment section below. Tell us how you feel. Tell us what you think, your opinions and stuff like that. We're really interested in how you guys feel about everything. And yes, stay awesome, stay safe. Jordan, I love you. You stay awesome, stay safe. King Kandoro, I love you. Stay awesome, stay safe.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the new addition to your family. Wear a mask. Sanitize, and yes, we will see you guys in the next episode.
Big up.
Camera, lights, flash, click, strike up, pose. Oh, swag, drippy, click, strike up, pose.